Hey, and welcome back to Sent Off Stories. This is Ethan,
And I'm Ollie.
and today we'll be talking about the Women's World Cup, hosted in our nation.
Yep.
How good? We had it for just over a month. Oh no, just a month. 20th of July to 20th of August. This was the first World Cup held over two different nations and two different confederations. That was Asia for Australia and Oceania for New Zealand. So we'll just get into a few details about how the tournament went, some of the results, and we've got 9 moments to remember from FIFA.com, as well as some overall thoughts about the tournament, what it brought to New Zealand, and some attendance records, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So first off, we had Spain winning, with Aitana Bonmati winning Golden Ball for Best Player, Sama Paraguayo winning Young Player of the Tournament. I've absolutely butchered both of those. And Japan's Hinata Miyazawa winning the Golden Boot with 5 goals, and England's Mary Earps winning Golden Glove for Best Goalkeeper. I think some great players in there. Paraguayo, only 19, playing for Barca. I think instantly as soon as she came on earlier in the tournament, it was like, wow, she's quality. Huge, left-footed, just great on the ball, kind of glides with it. There were some quality young players at the tournament. Even Caicedo for Colombia, who played in all 3 tournaments, the Under-17 World Cup, the Under-18 World Cup, and then the actual Under-20 World Cup, and then the actual World Cup.
It was very cool to see some of these players like come through, or like get their like not rise to fame, but they're definitely known a lot more now. Yeah. Based on their performances.
I think it's a really cool moment for mainstream media for women's football at the moment. I think it's slowly seeping into the more mainstream media, and people are actually having a look at it. They're understanding who players are, who the better sides are. We didn't have a clue before the World Cup, and that was something that we really wanted to do, is come into it and go, okay, we know this player's good now. We've watched the group stage. This player's playing really well. And we learned a lot about different clubs, different countries, their players, the way they play. It was just a really good time for women's football, I think. So should we dive straight into these 9 moments from the World Cup?
Yeah, go on.
So this is from FIFA World Cup. It was published the day after the World Cup finished. 9 moments to remember from the 9th Women's World Cup. From Hannah Wilkinson's opening day strike to Sam Kerr's Sydney Thunderbolt, we've chosen 9 moments to remember from the tournament's 9th edition. Starting off, we've got Wilkinson firing New Zealand to an opening day win. I didn't even get to watch this. I was at work sitting there trying to catch any of it I could. I had a shift for our first game. I work in hospitality, so I was doing I think it was like a 5 to 11, that sort of thing, and I just missed the whole game, unfortunately. I watched us miss the penalty, and that's all I really got, but I had the commentary going for a little bit, and I think I was just whipping my head around constantly looking to see if I could hear anything or catch a glimpse of the game. But
man, what a way to open the World Cup, though. Like being here as well, then obviously getting the goal, and it was our first win, and what it says, after 15 games in 22 years of Women's World Cup games being played, that was our first win.
And it's the first win for both, what would you call it? For both men's and women's football. The men's have gone and done it, and they haven't won a game.
Yeah.
They were undefeated in South Africa, but they didn't win a game. And against a side like Norway, like the players in that team are absolutely ridiculous. They shouldn't have lost to us.
I feel like I don't want to say lucky, like we played obviously well, but on paper you would think, this is a hard game.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty of football. I think that was it was our game to win. It was at home. The girls had everything behind them.
Yeah.
We really wanted it, and jeez, the limbs when that goal went in, man, it's something special. Like that's not something we get in New Zealand. It's a very rugby strong country. You see the support of the Phoenix, which if you're a diehard Phoenix fan, you'd know. But there's not much there. So you get these games up in Auckland where the Phoenix play occasionally, and people on their seats all game. There's not much going on, not much chanting other than the yellow fever. You get the games in Wellington, and people are all spread across the stadium. You get the yellow fever in the corner, which awesome. The yellow fever do great things for football in New Zealand, and I think it's cool having support like that. But this was a completely different ball game, and having all of the support in one stadium, everyone rooting for the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And there's none of the BS with the Phoenix. Like, there's so much little internal problems that people complain about, and someone's always got to complain about something. But with this, everyone just wanted to see us win. There was nothing at all that was like, oh, this player's not playing well, why are they playing? This player's not playing well, why are they playing? It was just, get behind them.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, because it was the opening game and it was here, like, obviously everyone wanted us to win. We hadn't won before, so, like, scenes if we won on the first game, which we did. Come on, NZ. But, like,
man.
I think, yeah, what did it say? Just 3 minutes into the second half, which is when we scored the goal, and man, I still remember seeing the celebration of it, and it was unreal.
Were you watching with the boys at the flat?
I think I was. I'm pretty sure I did catch the opening game.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can just see how much it means to us, though.
Yeah.
Like, New Zealand, a small country, like putting our name out there.
And beating a side like Norway. It wasn't just a little win, and it was a really big thing. Next, we've got Caicedo announcing herself to the world. Like I mentioned before, played at 3 World Cups in the space of a year. I doubt that's been done before. I really doubt that's been done before in any...
Yeah.
In most codes. Like, I doubt many sports have people that have gone, I'm good enough for under 17s, and then I'm good enough for under 20s, and then I'm good enough to play in the actual World Cup. And scoring wonder goals in the tournament.
She's only 18, keep in mind.
Yeah,
like
she won the I think she won tournament's best goal as well.
That screamer she got, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
It's unreal. That was the she scored against Korea Republic on the first day.
Yeah.
And then scored the Lacroqueta and then the long shot against Germany. And that knocked them out, eh? That was the...
I think they did go through.
Yeah, that was it, because we were looking at it when we were going through regularly, looking at the standings and how games were going, and we didn't really have a sense of who the better sides were, who the top sides ranked in the world were. FootMob did a really good thing where they had the ratings. They didn't have it before the World Cup, I don't think, but they finally, I think they jumped onto it really well, and I think that brought a lot of exposure to it, because all these women's players had all their details in it. They had actual ratings for the games, and you could see which sides were statistically better, which in this World Cup it didn't mean a lot. Like, Germany were 4th ranked, I think, and they crashed out in the group stage.
Yeah.
And if Caicedo doesn't score that goal, I don't think Colombia might have gone through, but I don't think I think that would have kept Germany in it. If she didn't score in the 90-odd minute, they would have been out.
I think as well, like, Colombia just wasn't a team that anyone would predict to do extremely well.
No.
But then the fact that you've got Caicedo coming through as like a star player for the whole tournament, even though they did go out a little bit early, but like,
she's got more World Cups in her as well. That's the thing.
She's 18. Man.
She'll be 22 in the next one, 26 in the one after that, and that's not even her prime yet. Like, and 26 is entering her prime.
Yeah.
She's got so many more World Cups ahead of her. That's the coolest thing.
Honestly, if Colombia like hold their talent and like actually keep their team to a reasonably high level, she's going to be levels.
Next one, I think this was probably my favourite game of the tournament. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Japan humble Spain is the headline here, and I think that's honestly what it was. They didn't have the ball at all. I read somewhere that they had about 20% possession, and I think that's the first time a team's had both the men's and the women's side had really small amounts of possession, and I think the smallest in tournament history for their respective sides. And both of them in back-to-back tournaments. In the 2023, Japan beat Spain with no possession of the ball. They didn't hold it at all and still knocked Spain out.
Yeah.
And then go to the women's side and they've done the exact same thing. I think that says a lot about the tactics and the way Japan run their football.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for over a decade now, been funding the sport, trying to get it really going. And I think this really shows just the style of play they want to bring out. They want to hold on to the ball, but when they don't, they know they can be tactically sound enough to not just leak goals, which is something a lot of teams struggle with. These ones that can't just hold on to the ball all game, they tend to just hold on, and then they've conceded 3 goals and they kind of collapse. But I think it was really cool seeing how hard they fought, and then Miyazawa scored a brace in that game as well, and those goals are crazy. Like, I think none of them were just like stock standard goals. There was screamers.
They were all
there.
special, man. Because I'm seeing here under the stats, like Ethan just mentioned, Japan had 22% possession. Like,
that's crazy.
That's nothing,
and
man.
that's 4-0. Like,
Spain had 4 times as many passes because, everyone knows Spain is a passing team.
Yeah.
They love their passing. They work their gaps and stuff. But clearly Japan, even though they didn't have the ball, still knew how to defend. Like,
it was cool. And I think that it was a really good, what's the word? Almost advertisement for the way women's football has been going. You get these people that look at it and go, oh, it's just women's football. There's nothing there for it.
Yeah.
There are really big gaps in that. Like, there's really good signs for, like, the way they play, and it's a lot more than just what they think it is. And I think this has kind of stretched it for people that didn't enjoy it or didn't understand it, and now they're looking at it like us. Like, we weren't ignorant about it like a lot of people, and we came into it very open-minded. We're really keen to get into the sport and get into women's football.
Yeah.
And this was honestly the biggest advertisement for it, I think, as well. With Spain going on to win as well. Like, getting pumped 4-0 and then go on to just sweep out the tournament. It's crazy.
I think for me, and as well as a lot of people, like, I said from the start I would love to see Japan win, just because I love Japan as a country, but then I also kind of saw how they were playing in the group stages and how they were performing, and I was like, man. And then when I saw this, I don't actually know if I was watching this live because I think I was doing something, but when I kept seeing the goals pop up, I was honestly like, what is going on?
I think me and Jordan were at home just watching it, chilling out, and we were just sitting here like, what is going on?
It might have been the same night as another game that might have been at, because I went to the Zambia game against Costa Rica, I think it was, and it might have been on the exact same time.
Is that when you went out, and that's not the one you went with Jordan, eh?
No.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think it was that one, yeah.
And then we've got Jamaica and Morocco toppling giants. I think, the group stage games with games like this, Morocco got thumped 6-0 at the start of the tournament by Germany, who then crashed out, but then came to beat Korea and Colombia 1-0 afterwards. That group was crazy. Like, Germany crashing out, Colombia with their story to get through, and then Morocco turning around after Germany.
Yeah, that's crazy, eh?
The collapse for Germany is a little bit mental. And then Germany drawing with Korea in that wouldn't have been the last game. I'm not sure what that one is. Yeah, but I think the group stages were just as special as the knockouts. Yeah. Like, it was cool because the group stages allowed us to go to a lot of games. The knockouts, there weren't as many in New Zealand. Well, they were just in Auckland and Wellington it was. Yeah. Because the stadiums were too small. There was no capacity. Like, Waikato Stadium's tiny, but I think that made for a really cool atmosphere in these little group stages.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I think, like, because we went to some games together, and we'll go into that shortly, but the fact that we even got the experience to be able to go and, like, see the atmosphere. And for me, like, I knew the FIFA, like, the Women's World Cup was coming up, but I didn't really know how big it would be.
Yeah.
But I think it was the moment when we got there, we heard all the fans, and, like, we were sitting in the Portugal side, and I think
FIFA did really well to make it a experience for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think it was good for the neutrals that didn't understand much about football or weren't too keen about it and went just for the sake of it being a sporting event. And FIFA pulls things off really well. Like, they have to. It's top of the world for everything in terms of sport. It's the number one sport in the world.
Yeah.
Like, they have to bring out everything, and there has to be high standards. But even down to the core of it, like, all these volunteers, there were so many quality volunteers that were just putting their hands up to help. They were going around pointing people around, having a great time, enjoying just being there for the spectacle. We had one of our mates, Kurt, did it, and it was always funny seeing him pop up and floating around the stadium, and he looked like he was having a great time.
Yeah, man.
It was like, honestly. Yo, Kurt, do you want to come watch the game tonight? Nah, mate, I'm volunteering. Oh, man. So cool. Next one, we've got Musovic, the hero, as Sweden stun USA. That was an unreal game. That was the last 16. I just watched the USA Portugal game up in Auckland, and then this was USA's next game, and USA almost crashed out. They conceded that didn't concede. They Portugal hit the post in like the last 10 minutes, and the game was a little bit underwhelming. There wasn't too much going on. It was the stadium was packed full of American fans, but it was just mental. Like, you could see USA weren't at their best, and it looked like they were probably not going to win the tournament. But
yeah,
that Sweden clash was unreal. It was honestly mental.
Man.
And the goalkeeper pulled up huge. No less than 11 saves during the game. And those big ones right at the end to send the game to penalties. And then USA missing 3 penalties. And that last one, the who was it? It was...
Oh, the one who skied it.
Nah, the USA keeper that saved it, and then it bounced back down. And it was like this much over the line. Like, honestly, nothing. What a way for them to crash out.
I was so gassed for Sweden, though.
I can't lie. My boss at work is Swedish, so I was like talking to her throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You reckon you guys are going to get knocked out against the USA?" And she's like, "I'm happy with how far we've come. Like, I've enjoyed watching us play."
Yeah.
And then they cleaned them out. Like,
I don't know why, but I feel like just because of how well, like, historically USA's done, everyone was rooting against them.
Yeah.
Like, so many of us even, like, just loved this fact that we were supporting Sweden. And we're not Swedish at all, but, like, man...
I think we wanted upsets, and I think that made it special, was that the top 4 teams at the end of it, none of them had World Cup wins. So it was like, it's out of everyone's hands now. It comes down to it, like, let's just see it happen, honestly.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Kelly comes in clutch again. That was the penalty shootout was required to determine their round of 16 game with Nigeria. Nigeria missed their 2 opening spot kicks, and then that's the Kelly free kick where she did the little skip and the jump, and then just thumped it. I don't think I've ever seen a penalty taken like that, and I'd love to see it again. She just absolutely smacked it. It was the fastest kick of the tournament. I think it was at the end of it. Yeah,
really.
At the end of it, the fastest kick of the tournament as well. It was faster than all the penalty kicks at the Men's World Cup, I think.
Right.
She walloped it, honestly. Absolutely walloped it, yeah. What a way to send them through. And then we've got Arnold, the Aussie hero. That was the France quarterfinal. That was that penalty shootout. That was mental. She saved 3 pens, set the record for the most saves by a goalkeeper in a Women's World Cup shootout.
Yeah.
And that sent the Matildas to their first ever semi-final, which that game was special as well.
I feel like one thing to note is like how many penalty shootouts there were. Like there was a lot. A lot of the games were way closer than we would have thought.
Yeah, and then even the ones that got down to the wire, it all happened within like the last 20 minutes, extra time or pens. I think for knockouts, a lot of it. Some of the games are a little bit, but I think that's what made it special, was that everyone was so hard fought for it, and then it was all right down to the end. There was no BS throughout it. It was just like everyone putting in a shift to get it done.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted just absolutely fight for it.
Well, because what was the game you lads went to the pub to watch, and there was the equaliser.
It was,
and then the second one.
That was.
I don't think it was Spain.
No, it was 100% Spain, because.
Was it Sweden as well?
Yeah, it was Spain.
Sweden.
Yeah, that was Spain, Sweden. Where there was what was that? There were like 3 goals within, because we were all sitting there. We'd had a couple beers, and we were like, this needs to pick up soon.
Yeah.
Or, like, this needs to go to pens. Like, there's no in between for this. And then it absolutely picked up.
Because I'm pretty sure I remember Sweden, they scored an equaliser at the very end, and then Spain, like, literally a minute later.
Yeah, Paraluelo scored in the 81st.
Yeah.
So I think she came on and scored. Yeah, she came on late and scored. And then Blomqvist scored in the 88th. and then Olga scored in the 90th.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was just like, what is going on? I saw the first go in, and I was like, I need to go toilet before anything else happens here. And I was so worried that I'd miss another. And then as I'm walking out of the toilet, the biggest screen is right in front of me. We were outside watching on like a TV screen, and then there's a huge, just like, I think it was a massive flat screen as I was walking out from the toilets. As soon as I walk out, another goal's gone in. And I'm like, I'm running back to my seat. Get me my beer. I'm running straight back there.
Yeah.
Sit down. And I was just having a laugh with the boys. And then we watched and we're like, there's no way. Another one goes in. And that one was ridiculous. The winning goal, that was
by
just...
Spain, eh?
Yeah, that was
Olga.
crazy.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Kirsten Shockwaves in Sydney.
Yeah.
That game was mental, man. That was the...
Against England.
Yeah, that was the Kerr long shot where she just dribbled ages and then just thumped it, and I was like, she's got to pass her. She's got to pass.
Yeah.
And then just whacks it. Top left. Sent the crowd into shocks, man.
I don't think I heard a louder crowd the whole tournament because it was in
Australia
Aussie.
got behind them, eh? Like,
it was nuts.
I think we really got behind the girls, and if we beat Philippines, we would have. I think it would have been special for us to get through, and just having a knockout game would have been crazy.
For
but
real.
Australia getting all the way to the semis, then being behind them the whole way through.
Yeah.
It's so good for football over there, and even here, it's just done a lot.
Yeah, for real.
And then Spain reigned supreme. Spain come through with that 1-0 win. Olga Carmona, the captain, netting the game's decisive strike in the first half. Really sad day for her. I think that would have been a very strange set of emotions to handle with her father passing as well as winning the World Cup.
Because did you know that she didn't get told until after the game?
Yeah,
though?
he passed before and then got told afterwards, which...
I mean, the fact she scored the winning goal to win the World Cup and then found out just after, it'd be like all-time high to
I was
the
gonna
lowest
say,
of
going
low.
from the highest to highs to the lowest of lows straight away. Like,
feels really bad, man. But yeah.
So those were the 9 moments from FIFA.
Yep. Man.
So then, what games did we go to?
I think the first one we all went to together was that Portugal-Vietnam game.
Yeah.
I think you went to someone
I went to
before.
Norway, Switzerland.
Yeah.
As well as Portugal, USA up in Auckland.
Yeah.
And that was cool. Seeing Portugal, USA in Auckland, it was... Those Eden Park games were massive. Like...
Was the atmosphere better though? Because I feel like the Waikato Stadium, because like you mentioned before, it is small, but the atmosphere was still good.
I don't know how I feel. I wasn't close enough to the USA fans because they were on the complete other side of the pitch behind the goal.
Yeah.
And they were really good. I heard they were really good. We believe that we will win most of the game, but...
Right.
And... funnily enough, our boy Kurt, again, he was down with the small group of Portuguese fans and was just giving them shit the whole time. Giving the USA a bit of grief, but that's what it was about. But no, honestly, I think Waikato gave for a better atmosphere. I think if I was a bit deeper in it and I was with a lot of the fans and I was closer to the action, might have been different. But I think Waikato being so small... all of them having the flags, jumping around on the seats. I think they had a bit more freedom to do that.
Yeah.
And then the entire Vietnam stand on the other side. Let's say entire Vietnam stand because that was flooded with red and yellow. They had their banana boxes with stuff painted on the front. It was on like the culture in the tournament was, I think, made it so good was that you saw all these different cultures come together for a collective love of football.
Yeah, it was special.
It was so good, man.
And because we were, for that game, Ethan went with some other people, but at halftime he came down and sat with Jordan and I, and we were just having the time of our lives, eh? Like, we got our faces painted with Portugal colours and we had the banners, and some guy at the front in front of us had like the big drums and were getting us to do their chants and
What was
stuff.
he doing? He made everyone sit down, and then we slowly got up with when he was chanting. And that's like, you don't get that in New Zealand football. Like, unless you go to a Waiheke United game, big up those boys. I wrote a story about them for one of our classes. Big up those boys, but you're not getting it anywhere else. And I think that's what brought it over. Hopefully it makes a difference now, and hopefully it slowly builds into it because football support like that, adding more colour to the game is just... It makes it so much better.
Yeah, it was
Like-
way more enjoyable, eh?
Yeah, it was really good. And sitting with them with the flags going, like
Yeah.
actual Portuguese people that had come over, like the I've got a stat down here. There was 70 million from registered cards overseas over the month of the tournament that was hosted. That was increased from the months before. So 70 million. I know I
Man.
saw a lot of Americans spending money at that Portugal-USA game.
Yeah.
Went in wanting my half and half scarf. Could not get one. Waited in a line for ages. And there were people in front of me just spending $600. Just like casually spending $600.
That's nuts, man.
Like, merch is expensive. It's a FIFA tournament and it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
But these people were just casually just burning through money. And I was like, I'm not complaining. Like, come over here, do whatever you want, enjoy our country.
Because it's all like helping, man. Like everything that people were buying and the things that people were doing was all contributing to the experience.
And the stuff that was left at the stadiums, like the resources that they had to bring over to make them compatible for FIFA.
Yeah.
That they were left. I think the Westpac Stadium, it's got those really cool lights around the stadium now, which I'm praying the Phoenix use them. If they've got yellow and black blasting throughout, it would be the coolest thing. And all of these, I think a lot of the A-League will see it now, is these stadiums will have these little upgrades that might not be a huge look, but when you come over and I'd ideally like to go do an away day next year in Aussie for one of the games.
Yeah.
And if I go over and see some of the stuff that's been left over from the World Cup that they're reusing now, it's good. Like, there's no complaints with any stuff like that. And like, there's the massive side of what it's done for the sport and what it's done just as a social thing. But then you look at it from the side of what are the resources we've got? What's it brought over here? Everything. There's so much.
We'll add some photos up here of us like at some of the games and like
I think
the
we've got
atmosphere.
clips of the I think we've got a clip of the Portuguese fans going mental.
Yeah.
You can probably
Just to
hear Ollie
see.
screaming in the background of it.
Man, yeah. Just as you said though, I think if some of this stuff like sticks and they keep like, I don't know, not just the infrastructure, but some of the stuff around the stadiums and whatnot, everything will help to build football here. And I think that's what we need, man. Like, especially for women's. I'd say football for men's is somewhat sizable here.
I just think the media's
like,
average for it, but you grow the women's games more and it's great. Like, there's so much to build from it.
Yeah.
And then we've got the social aspects of it and the lack of support from big businesses plus the recognition of support for smaller businesses. That's something I found a little bit frustrating is that places like Rebel Sport, these huge companies, they didn't jump on it like they should have.
Yeah.
I think there were little things done, but there wasn't enough. We saw little businesses all around Hamilton and the CBD with just... What did they have? They had stuff all over their windows. They wanted people to come in and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got an international tournament going on.
I think, do you reckon it's just because like these big companies, they just didn't realize how big it would be?
Yeah, I think they might have underestimated the impact it was going to have because this World Cup blew all the stats out of the water for all the previous ones. It was massive, like huge, but I don't know, like us Kiwis and the Aussies, we get behind things and we don't get this sort of stuff often, and when we do, we make the most of it. And I think the businesses should have. I think it was the right way to develop women's football and bring more eyes onto it. Even
yeah.
But like, it wouldn't have been that hard to do more campaigning, more stuff surrounding it,
and especially because it's in New Zealand, you'd think, it's in our country. We want to make everything look good. Make a good name for ourselves.
Yeah.
And like we've got a stat here that there was around nearly 1.9 million people watching, which exceeded their expectations of 1.5 million. That's like 40% of the nation's population.
Which you don't see that often for sports. And And it's not even rugby. Like, I doubt you'd get that many. You'd probably get a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's hard to say.
I know a lot of people that don't watch the All Blacks. I know a lot of people that won't watch these games because it's just like, it's just the All Blacks. Like, the All Blacks are going to win again, or it's just another All Blacks game. We don't get friendlies for New Zealand football often. We don't see the girls playing too often. So when we do, it's like, jump on it. Absolutely jump on it. This will do big things for the Phoenix Women's now as well. Like, there's so much to build from this.
Yeah.
As well as there was more than $1 million were also invested into women's and girls sports following the World Cup, which is just...
That's huge.
There's so much coming out of it, and I think this is when we can retouch on it maybe in a couple of weeks, and there'll be more stats that'll come out talking about what it did for the nation as well as the sport. And I think even in a year or so, it'll be a good one to look at and go, this is what it did. This is where we're at now.
Yeah.
Where do they look at to go from again? And
like, hopefully we'll see an increase in women's football here and like younger women wanting to play.
Yeah, definitely.
Well.
So that's us for today. That's our chat about the Women's World Cup. We had a great time going and watching it. We had a great time
100%
enjoying the games. We watched it in many different areas. We watched it at home, having a couple beers. We went to the pub to watch it. Went up to Auckland, watched it in our backyard almost, in our home city. It was a great tournament, and I think it did a lot for so many different aspects of the sport and even for the country.
It was super special, man. Just getting to see everything unwind, really, and can't wait to see what the future holds for New Zealand and New Zealand football.
Exactly. Sweet as. So that's us, and we'll see you for the next episode.
Hello everyone, I'm Lachlan. If you're wondering why I look familiar, you've probably seen me in your top corner of your screen a few times. I am the editor of Scent of Stories, and I just want to say thank you for listening to this episode. I'm also here to announce that we'll be on a short hiatus for the next 2 weeks, and we plan to release our next episode on October 6th. We appreciate all your support and hope you guys are having a good day.